These are some frequently asked questions about California budget terminology. Now, there are some common terms and phrases regarding the California state budget that you should be familiar with. These are defined by the Office of Legislative Counsel and the Department of Finance on their respective websites. What are the A pages? This is the term often used to refer to the governor's budget summary, which are the governor's budget highlights. What is an appropriation? An appropriation is an amount of money and authorization for a specific agency to make expenditures for a specified purpose. What is the appropriations limit, also known as the GAN limit? It's a constitutional limitation on the maximum amount of tax proceeds that state or local governments may appropriate in a given fiscal year. This limit was originally established on the 1986-1987 fiscal year appropriations, and it's adjusted annually. What are authorized positions? In the salaries and wages publication that's part of the state budget, it is the past year's total authorized positions found in state government. What is the baseline budget, otherwise known as the workload budget? This is the budget year cost of currently authorized services, adjusted for changes in enrollment, caseload population, statutory COLAs, chaptered legislation, one-time expenditures, full year costs of partial year programs, cost incurred pursuant to constitutional requirements, federal mandates, court-ordered mandates, as well as state employee merit salary adjustments and state agency operating expenses and equipment cost adjustments. Quite a mouthful. What is a BCP? This is an acronym for the term Budget Change Proposal. It's a document that's prepared by a state agency in the Department of Finance to propose and document proposed budget changes to maintain an existing level of service or to change a level of service, propose a new program that's not currently authorized, or to eliminate an existing program. What is the blue pencil? This is a term often used to refer to the governor's ability to line item veto items of appropriation in the budget bill or an appropriation bill. It's formally called the line item veto, and it's called the blue pencil as well because prior governors actually used a blue pencil to reduce or eliminate items of appropriation. What's the budget? The state budget includes proposed expenditures of state monies for the next fiscal year. What is the Budget Act? This is the budget bill after it has been enacted into law. What is the budget bill? It's the annual bill required by the state constitution that sets forth the spending proposals for the next fiscal year, containing the budget submitted to the legislature by the governor. What is the Budget Bill Junior? It's one or more bills that make adjustments to the annual Budget Act. The plural is Budget Bills Junior. What is the budget year or the fiscal year? The fiscal year addressed by a proposed budget begins July 1 and ends June 30th. It's the 12-month period on which the state budget is planned, as opposed to the federal fiscal year, which begins October 1 and ends September 30th of the following year. What is the budget year plus one or plus two? This refers to the fiscal year following the upcoming fiscal year that begins July 1. For example, the 2024-25 budget year begins July 1, 2024. The budget year plus one begins July 1, 2025. What is capital outlay? Generally, these are state expenditures to acquire or construct real property. What is a continuous appropriation? This is a constitutional or statutory expenditure authorization that is renewed each year without further legislative action. What are control sections? These are the sections of the Budget Act, for example, Section 1.00 at the end of the budget bill. And these control sections provide specific controls on the appropriations itemized in sections 2.00 and the following of the Budget Act. What is the current year budget? This is the term used in budgeting to designate the operations of the present fiscal year in contrast to past or future periods, as well as the proposed fiscal or budget year. What is debt service? It's the amount of money required to pay interest on outstanding bonds and the principal of maturing bonds. What is early action? It's a relatively new term to signify budget actions that occur prior to the normal June actions. What is a finance letter? These are revisions to the budget bill or the current year expenditures that are proposed by the Department of Finance and addressed to the legislature for consideration. What is a fund balance? For budgeting purposes, it's the amount of the excess of a fund's resources over its expenditures. What is the general fund? This is the state's main account for revenues, primarily derived from the personal income tax, sales and use taxes, and corporation taxes. What is the governor's budget summary? It's the companion publication to the governor's budget, wherein the governor outlines policies, goals, and objectives for the budget year. What's the January 10 budget? This refers to the governor's initial budget proposal, which is due per the Constitution by the 10th day of the calendar year. What is the JLBC? It is the Joint Legislative Budget Committee with an equal number of assembly members and senators. It's the duty of the committee to ascertain facts and make recommendations to the legislature concerning the state budget and the revenues and expenditures of the state and the organization and functions of the state and its departments, subdivisions, and agencies. It's done with a view of reducing the cost of state government and securing greater efficiency and economy. What is the line item veto? This is a term to refer to the governor's constitutional authority to line item veto, either reducing or eliminating it totally, any item of appropriation in the budget or an appropriation bill. It's sometimes referred colloquially as the blue pencil. What is local assistance? These are expenses made for the support of local government or other locally administered activities. What is the May revise or May budget revision? The governor is required by state statute to update the governor's January budget after the April tax receipts are available. It must occur no later than May 14th and is an updated estimate of revenues and expenditures that replace the estimates contained in the governor's budget submitted in January. What is a one-time cost? This is a proposed or actual expenditure that is non-recurring, usually only in one annual budget, and not permanently included in baseline expenditures. What is a reversion? This occurs with the return of an unused portion of an appropriation to the fund from which that appropriation was made. What is a schedule? The detail of an appropriation in the budget bill or the budget act that shows its distribution to each of the programs. What are special funds? These are funds created by statute or administratively per Government Code Section 13306, and they're used to budget and account for taxes, licenses, and fees that are restricted by law for particular activities of the government. What are the summary schedules? These are the various schedules in the governor's budget summary that summarize state revenues, expenditures, and other fiscal and personnel data for the past, the current, and the budget year. Finally, what is a trailer bill? This is a bill that's required to enact statutory changes that are related to implementation of the California state budget.